The irreplaceability of competence. When an individual becomes irreplaceably competent, confidence ceases to be a trait requiring fabrication or conscious effort. True self-assurance is forged through undeniable, objective evidence of personal worth. This standard of excellence serves as the bedrock upon which all other forms of professional and social leverage are constructed. By prioritizing this development above all else, an individual ensures that every subsequent interaction, negotiation, and opportunity becomes entirely manageable on their own terms. The trap of eternal explanation. A critical milestone in personal growth involves recognizing when to stop justifying choices to individuals who are fundamentally invested in misinterpreting them. Many professionals squander valuable mental and emotional energy attempting to clarify calculated, strategic decisions to colleagues or peers who view any departure from the norm as a threat. This defensive posture is inherently counterproductive, as it attempts to apply logic to viewpoints that were never constructed on logical foundations to begin with. The psychology of planned misunderstanding. As Niccolò Machiavelli observed, the vast majority of people form judgments based on surface appearances rather than direct experience. Individuals who are committed to misunderstanding a person are rarely interested in experiencing their true capabilities or character. Instead, they seek to preserve an engineered version of that person that aligns with their own comforting limitations. Recognizing this dynamic frees an individual from the exhausting cycle of unnecessary correction, allowing them to redirect their focus elsewhere. Conserving personal energy. Ceasing all explanations to those who refuse to understand creates an immediate surplus of focus and vitality. This newly reclaimed energy can be strategically channeled into building high-value alliances with individuals who recognize talent instinctively. It allows an individual to craft exceptional work that commands attention independently, rendering external critiques entirely irrelevant. True professional alignments do not require lengthy justifications. Alignment is evident in the results produced. The value of absolute scarcity. The inherent worth of a skilled professional does not contract simply because an observer lacks the capacity to accurately evaluate it. When a peer or supervisor consistently minimizes or underestimates documented achievements, their behavior should be taken at face value. Rather than internalizing their skepticism, the correct strategic move is to completely restrict their access to personal insights, strategies, and internal processes, granting them exactly what their behavior has earned: nothing. Autonomy over chaos. True independence is often incorrectly conflated with a total absence of structure, which in reality is merely chaos. Authentic autonomy is defined by the deliberate implementation of structures that actively advance personal and professional objectives, rather than serving the agendas of external entities. It means establishing reliable, self-sustaining methodologies that generate consistent value regardless of whether peripheral associates participate, approve, or offer validation. The illusion of dependency. Networks. Many individuals spend their careers building elaborate webs of dependency, mislabeling these restrictive frameworks as essential professional connections. When emotional stability, financial security, and daily schedules are entirely contingent upon the consistency of others, an individual is essentially operating on borrowed time. This structural vulnerability ensures that access to stability can be revoked arbitrarily, transforming a career into a form of voluntary confinement with superior branding. Navigating systemic collapse. The necessity of structural independence becomes blindingly clear when external systems experience sudden, simultaneous disruption. Corporate restructurings can eliminate positions overnight, and long-standing professional networks can dissolve the moment. Providing support becomes inconvenient. Surviving these inevitable market corrections requires an individual to proactively construct alternative paths, ensuring their survival is never dependent on a single corporate infrastructure or corporate entity. Paying the premium for autonomy. While many professionals profess a desire for true independence, few are genuinely willing to endure the temporary discomfort and deferred gratification required to build it. Establishing resilient personal systems demands a long-term outlook that extends far beyond the typical horizon. This involves cultivating diverse, highly transferable skills and creating independent avenues of value generation, ensuring that personal progression is never dictated by a single employer's budget or training program. The foundation of sovereignty. Transitioning from dependency to structural autonomy fundamentally alters how an individual responds to external pressures. When financial and emotional stability are self-sustained, the shifting moods of supervisors or broader economic uncertainties lose their capacity to induce panic. This autonomy creates a diverse array of options, and an abundance of options is the precise definition of leverage. It removes the necessity of tolerating unfair treatment, allowing an individual to engage strictly from a position of strength. Defining strategic ruthlessness. The concept of strategic ruthlessness marks the definitive boundary between those who merely idealize authority and those who possess the discipline to wield it effectively. This principle is frequently misunderstood as a form of casual cruelty or emotional detachment. In reality, true strategic ruthlessness is calculated, purposeful, and entirely non-aggressive. It is simply the unwavering willingness to prioritize long-term objectives over immediate, short-term comfort. The reality of enabling versus loyalty. A common obstacle to professional and personal growth is confusing enabling behavior with authentic loyalty. Spending finite resources managing the continuous crises of unmotivated associates systematically drains the energy required to solve primary challenges. Prioritizing individual progression over the comfort of stagnant peers is not an act of malice. It is a recognition that personal development cannot be subordinated to the expectations of those who choose to remain stationary. The economy of finite resources. Time, energy, and focused attention are strictly finite resources. Consequently, every affirmative response given to an unproductive demand functions as an automatic refusal to a high-priority objective. Strategic leaders recognize that they must be exceptionally disciplined with their availability to ensure an abundance of focus remains for the tasks and partnerships that yield genuine advancement. Extraordinary achievement is less a product of luck and more a result of making the decisions others avoid. Deconstructing the programming of complacency. From an early age, individuals are systematically conditioned to believe that a natural desire for recognition, high-level success, and definitive personal power is inherently flawed or selfish. This narrative is purposefully engineered to keep talent manageable, compliant, and highly predictable. The moment an individual recognizes these psychological constraints as artificial mechanisms of control, they can choose to discard them entirely, reclaiming their trajectory without seeking external validation. Changing the energy of the room. An impactful presence is never achieved through loud attention-seeking or theatrical behavior. True, unforgettable influence is established by developing an undeniable depth of competence, a calculated approach to problem-solving, and a calm, unshakable emotional baseline. When these qualities are cultivated systematically, An individual's entry into a professional environment alters the dynamic entirely, commanding a room without ever needing to demand it, claiming sovereignty without permission. The contemporary professional landscape is heavily populated by individuals waiting indefinitely for external authorization to execute their plans. They stall their advancement while waiting for a supervisor to discover their worth or for a system to validate their ambitions. True leverage, however, is never granted by an external authority. It is calmly claimed by those who have outgrown the need for external consensus and possess the data to back their position. The quiet transformation. An authentic shift in personal power requires no grand announcements or verbal declarations. There is zero utility in explaining why certain boundaries have been established or why availability for counterproductive discussions has been curtailed. The environment will adapt to the shift organically and immediately, as genuine authority communicates through posture, actions, and output rather than verbal noise. The sifting of alignments. As an individual's professional authority evolves, peripheral relationships and superficial alliances will naturally fall away. This sorting process should be welcomed rather than resisted. The partnerships destined to endure will naturally grow stronger, shifting from arrangements based on mutual need to alliances founded on mutual respect. The remaining elements were merely temporary placeholders, leaving the individual completely unencumbered and fully prepared to operate at the highest level.